Hey everybody, Jason Klom with the Comedy on Vinyl podcast, day 2 of my 365 comedy albums in 2017. I'm hashtagging it Comedy Album a Day. I'm listening to one, usually that I haven't heard before. I'm going to be listening to some that I've heard before to give them just a fresh listen, and based on new recommendations. If somebody else recommends it, might as well listen to it again if they've got a good reason. The one that I'm going to that I listened to already today is Ill Will by Will Jordan. This is from 1961. And just a real quick thing, this is going to go longer than my last one. Instagram only lets you do a minute. If you want to see the rest of this, go to YouTube. I'm going to put these up on YouTube as well. But Will Jordan is best known for inventing the voice and personality and impression that we know as Ed Sullivan. And he does it briefly on this album. This is his stand-up that is filled not just with impressions, although there's plenty of those, but also voices. He's in the group of what they like to call sick comics at the time. He's got a bit of a dark sense of humor, or at the very least, a much darker than what you would have heard at the time, and very funny stuff. There are a few things that would be a little more people nowadays would be more sensitive to, and that includes myself. I try to have a little bit of context. That's one of the interesting things about listening to albums like this is I have to go out of my way to straddle this line between people like myself who'd normally be, some people consider too sensitive to or too PC, which is really, that's, you think about that what you like. I have to straddle the line between that and just completely excusing anything that's, offensive as, that's how it was in the day, and they didn't mean it this way, etc., etc., etc. You have to straddle the line because you have to be intelligent about it. I enjoy the album, despite some of the things that are racist. Those things happen. There are a few things that are interesting where he'll play with a voice that's meant to be based on another stereotype. So it's like, this is how the Japanese in World War II were portrayed in films, but there's still, you can hear that some of the laughs are coming from a different place in the audience. That's not to say that's all this album is. That happens to be one bit. The album is very funny. It's very situational in that, to set up a voice, you can hear the glee in his voice when he's setting up a bit to do a voice. That's what you do if you're a mimic. He's a well-known mimic, best known, again, for inventing Ed Sullivan, practically. Really big shoe was him. People don't know that for the most part. People just assume that's how everybody did it. Well, everybody did it because of Will Jordan. There's a lot of really funny stuff on here, and it's definitely worth listening to. If you're a modern day listener, somebody who might be more sensitive, like I am, just be prepared that there's stuff in there that you're not necessarily going to immediately like. Maybe don't turn it off, of course, if it's not something you enjoy instantly. Just understand the context of it. And you don't need to excuse it, if it's something that offends you. And I don't really, and I apologize, I don't mean to make this whole thing about just that aspect of this album. It's brief. There are only a couple things that I would say are like that. And it is of its time, but we're going to run into that a lot with these albums. I'm not going to talk about it every single time, but it is important to bring it up on just day 2. There's going to be some stuff that's, you have to cross that generational gap on your own, and beware that there be dragons ahead. I've lost the metaphor completely. That said, Ill Will by Will Jordan is fun. It's a lot of fun to listen to. His style of a patter is similar to like a Lenny Bruce. And he makes me think of what Lenny Bruce would have been if he'd have stuck with just doing voices and stand-up, and it didn't become its own thing. It's very strong. The voice is very strong. It's also very conversational. It's very snappy and very fast. It does give me a little... there are little hints of like Jonathan Winters or Robin Williams, that kind of thing. Where there's a lot of what sounds like quick thinking, and I don't know his process, so I don't know if there was much improv. But either way, it sounds very, very, very off the cuff, even in the stuff that's clearly very well planned. I really like it. The back, the liner notes, not really liner notes, it's the back, written by Hugh Hefner, who a lot of people don't realize was so instrumental in bringing comedians to the forefront of pop culture. in a new way, and giving them a big platform. Anyway, it's fun. It's worth listening to. And honestly, if you want to listen to it since it's out of print, go to taylorjessen.blogspot.com. I own this record, but I did not have time to rip it myself. You know who's done that and cleaned it up for you, including cleaned up this art? I've got a torn record here. Taylor Jessen, who is Firesign Theater's archivist, but if you go to Fuji Puzzle Box, his blog, he has done some amazing things where he cleans up albums that deserve it, or at least of pop culture interest and importance. So if you go there, you can get this. You can get the cleaned up art. It's more than worth it. You could spend days, and I have done, going through his entire archive. And some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about through the rest of the year is going to come from his blog, especially some more obscure stuff and interesting stuff like, for instance, Steve Martin breaking down his own albums. People don't think he ever really did that on in an audio format, but he really did. So enjoy that. Go to Taylor's blog. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good thing. And please, hashtag anything related to this comedy album a day. Thanks so much.